Being diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis at just 34, Adam Thomas has suffered with pain, sometimes so debilitating that it's left him struggling to walk.
Yeah, wanting to raise awareness of how arthritis can affect anyone at any age, Adam joins us now alongside Dr. Zoe with everything we need to know about the condition. Morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Adam, I can't believe this. I can't believe somebody who I've known for a long time, you and your brothers, you're so young, you're so vital, so full of energy. I've never known you struggle with mobility. Has such a serious condition.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I just expect the unexpected, you know. I used to think that I was invincible, and it turns out that I'm not. But it's been a long journey. You know, my journey with arthritis started when I had an impact injury on my knees. I was actually training for a high rocks competition at the time. Right. And I got an injury on my knees and I couldn't walk for weeks and it just wasn't getting any better.
Did you just assume it was ligaments or...
Yeah, I just thought I must have pulled something or something like that. And then a couple of weeks after that, I woke up one morning and my wrists were in so much pain. I genuinely felt like I'd broken my wrists. The pain was that severe. And so I went to hospital and I had an X-ray because I was convinced that they were broken. And the results came back and there was nothing on the X-rays. So then again, a couple of weeks after that, went back for an MRI scan. Results came back, nothing. And it wasn't until, you know, and this went on for months. It was such a long process. And then it wasn't until someone mentioned for me to get my bloods done. And then I got my bloods done and then they found inflammation within my joints. They then referred me to a rheumatoid specialist, where I was then finally diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. And that was the most challenging bit for me because I was in so much pain and nobody was really giving me any answers. Yeah. You know, so not only physically but mentally that was draining. And then obviously, you know, once you get the diagnosis, then it's just another challenge from then on, just trying to get the medication to work.
Now, obviously, you know it's like sore joints, but what are the other symptoms that you have? And what was it like trying to go to work as well?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, you have good days and bad days. Yeah. But as well as, you know, having psoriatic arthritis, you also get psoriasis as well, which is a skin condition. Yeah. Which at the time I had it all over my body and mainly my scalp as well, which is you know, quite tough when you work in the television industry.
Yeah, hair and makeup and
doing makeup, picking bits out of my hair all the time.
That must have been really, really tough.
Yeah.
Was there any family history of it as well, though? And did it sort of come out of nowhere?
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. Looking back now, you know, my dad was in quite a lot of pain, and I just don't think he ever spoke about it. You know, but it is hereditary, and you know that's what worries me the most is, you know, my kids might possibly get this one day. So, yeah, I'm just doing everything and anything that I can do now to just try and find a blueprint. So, you know, if it does happen, then I can pass that information on.
But you had this diagnosis. You were doing Strictly as well, not that long ago.
Yeah. So I got the diagnosis literally just before I did Strictly. Because, you know, I signed up to do Strictly way before any of this. And so I just thought the pain would go away, and it just didn't. And I was like... So, yeah, doing Strictly was very challenging indeed.
So we've now got a reason why you couldn't dance that well.
You had
to go there,
that was what that question was about, basically.
Why I didn't do so well. But if you look back at some of the dances, I don't do any lifts or any swirls or anything like that because I couldn't lift her up.
No, you don't trust yourself.
But again, you know, even after the diagnosis, then, you know, it's finding the right medication that works for you. And everybody's different, and everyone's body is different as well. So, you know, what might work for some people might not necessarily work for you. So, you know, the medication was tough, and also the side effects to that as well.
Really?
You know, there was a medication that was on called methotrexate, which is basically like a short dose of chemotherapy. And, you know, as you can imagine, the side effects to that were really challenging. And,
horrible.
You know, just being sick and drowsy and fatigued all the time. So that was challenging, trying to work as well. So, yeah, it's been a long journey, but, you know, I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel now, which is good.
And I guess you have to make lots of lifestyle choices as well, because it's like, so filming moves later in the day because you've got a bit more mobility maybe, and
the producer,
diet?
Yeah, diet as well. So that's the main thing that I'm doing right now, because I came off the methotrexate and then I was on sulfazine, I think it is.
Sulfasalazine.
That's the one, thank you, Zoe. Still can't pronounce these names.
We all need a
Zoe. You don't need to, you don't need to.
And then whilst I was on that, a friend of mine reached out and she recommended that I speak to a friend of hers who was a scientist that studies the autoimmune disease. And she recommended to me to, you know, stay on my medication, but also just try the carnivore diet, right? Well, a couple of weeks into me trying the carnivore diet, just my life changed. Like, genuinely, I just felt like my knees got a little less tighter, my swelling in my fingers went down. And I started that just before Christmas.
I assume a simple thing, it's just a lot of meat.
Yeah, literally just meat. Meat and eggs, that's all I have now. And I fell off a little bit at Christmas, and now I'm just basically, from the start of the year, I'm just going 90 days all carnivore. I've decided to come off all my medication. I know it's probably not the right thing to do, but I just wanted to try and do this as naturally as possible. And look, if it doesn't work, then, you know, I can go back to my medication, but I just don't want to leave any stone.
You're trying to do the thing that's right for you, and you're taking control of that. Zoe, I mean, that's not advice you'd just randomly give out to people, is just to ignore all your medication, of course, from the medical...
Absolutely not. And I think one of the key things is that with any illness like this, lifestyle first. If people can get themselves better and manage their illness with a lifestyle approach, fantastic. Carnivore diet is a very restricted diet, as you've mentioned. But actually, when you do a restrictive diet, whether it is vegan or carnivore, you actually cut out alcohol, you cut out sugar, you cut out gluten, you cut out a lot of the things that can increase inflammation in the body. And dietitians and nutritionists don't necessarily recommend a carnivore diet long term because actually there's no fibre, there's no vitamin C, so, you know, you can end up with nutritional deficiencies. But tell somebody like Adam, who at one point your wife had to help you get dressed in the morning, who was in that much pain, who's now able to go to the gym and move freely because they've made a dietary intervention. To stop, they're not going to.
No.
But, I mean, I had a bit of a chat with Adam earlier and I said, just be brave enough to share with your rheumatologist, because we're all really interested in how lifestyle can work now, much more than before. And it might even be that they can give you things like stronger anti-inflammatory painkillers to support you. And if you do have a flare-up, they're aware of what's going on and can get in there. So if people want to try a lifestyle approach, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great, but always do it under the support and guidance of your healthcare team. And to anyone thinking about just stopping your medication,
don't do it.
usually it's not recommended because you could have a rebound response. So your symptoms could come back worse than they were before, or if your symptoms are under control of medication, you could go into remission. That's not to say you never can, but just do it with your doctor's support usually.
So let's talk about psoriatic arthritis then. How does it compare to osteoarthritis, the other forms?
So it's very different to osteo. There are many types of arthritis. Osteoarthritis is the most common type. And that's this degenerative cartilage, often tends to happen later in life, that all of us potentially will get a little bit of at some point. What Adam's got is a form of inflammatory arthritis. So people might have heard of rheumatoid arthritis, might have heard of ankylosing spondylitis, which affects the spine, and people seem to be less aware of psoriatic arthritis. They're all different types of arthritis, but have a lot of overlap and similarity, and they do tend to present at a younger age, so typically between 35 and 50, but it can present in childhood. There are other types of arthritis that do present in childhood as well. So the treatments are different and they vary, but it does tend to be, like with most things, we have a treatment ladder. So it starts off, some people's disease can be managed just with painkillers or anti-inflammatory medications. Often people progress to what we call DMARDs, which is like methotrexate and sulfasalazine, which actually try to down-regulate the processes. It's the immune system that's starting to damage certain tissues in the body. So in psoriatic arthritis, often people do have the skin condition as well, but not always. Sometimes they've just had the scalp psoriasis, which they may just think they've had bad dandruff, but that's a clue that it could be psoriatic. Or there's a family history of either psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis. And it tends to affect the small joints of the body predominantly, so hands, elbows, it can affect knees, and it can affect the spine, often the neck as well.
What about long-term prognosis? Because you're still very young, you want to stay fit and healthy.
What's so important, and this is why I'm encouraging Adam to stay in touch with his healthcare team, is if it's not well managed, then this condition can cause permanent damage to the joints. So it can cause what we call erosions, which is where the bones actually get eroded away by the inflammation. It can cause extra new bone to be laid down. It can affect the nails as well as the skin. It can affect the bowel. It can affect the eyes, inflammation in other areas of the body. So it's really important that it's being monitored. Because Adam's tried 2 of these DMARD drugs now, it may well be that the next step for him, if he was going back onto medication, would be to step up to what we call a biological. So these are very targeted drugs. They're very expensive and they do come with a side effect profile and have to be closely monitored. But a lot of people, and I know people in the community have sort of recommended this to you, haven't they, that might be the next step. So there are treatments, they're getting better all the time. They're way better than they used to be. But if you can control this with lifestyle, under the supervision of your medical team, absolutely fantastic. But on a carnivore-only diet, you're
I'm doing it all
going to need
wrong.
a bit of help.
Okay, I get it,
You're going to need a dietitian to help you as well.
But it's definitely worth having some guidance along with it. Like
completely.
And the Mediterranean diet, that's an anti-inflammatory diet that you can get all your nutrients from, and that's the one that usually would be perhaps recommended. But I'm not going to tell you to stop doing what you're doing.
Sounds like you are,
because it's working.
Never.
Is your brother on Love Island? Is that helping with the inflammation at the minute?
Yeah. It's really, honestly, I feel like I'm cured. It's honestly magical.
How are you all finding it?
Oh, we're loving it. We're loving every minute of it. It's just brilliant. We've got the whole family got together. We watched the first episode.
Amazing.
It was just amazing. I'm just so happy for him. I just want him to be happy. I just want him to enjoy it, And, when he was first going into there, he didn't really want to tell anybody because, he was scared that people were going to talk him out of it. He's 36 years old. He's going into Love Island. But he's just doing what he wanted to do. And, I just can't wait to see him fall in love, fingers crossed.
And there's lots of rumours about it all being fixed and everybody knows each other in bits and pieces like that.
I don't think so.
It's got sort of new...
India.
Of new
She's from Manchester, so they've crossed paths before. Like Scott said, I think Ekin-Su slid into his DMs. Why does he get all the DMs? I get nothing.
Let's see how it develops.
Loving it. Thank you for coming and sharing.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
It's always great to see you've got such a positive outlet, which is hugely important.
Love that, man. Thank you, sir.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.